picture. And I love having her smile over my shoulder as I talk about what Leslie Ann meant to me. Yesterday, as I was sitting in the church office working, I looked over at the wall, and Sue, the regular secretary, has a saying on the wall there, and it's a saying that's attributed to John Wesley, who was a great evangelist and a founder of Methodism. It says, "Do all the good you can, by all the means," by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can." Well, guess who I thought of? As I was reading that, I felt like I have a little window into Leslie Ann's soul because she made me think of each part of that saying. And so I just would like to go through and tell you the things that I was reminded of with the saying. I actually didn't become a close friend of Leslie Ann's. I was a friend for a long time, but then somehow we became close. I'm not even sure, like Colleen said, I'm not sure how that happened. But that was just several years ago. And so I was not as privileged as some of you who have been close to her for many, many years. And I am jealous of that, actually. But in the years that I knew her, I quickly grew to love and appreciate this amazing woman for her graciousness. Of course, you've heard that many times this morning. And it was her gracious ways that reflect all the parts of this saying. So, in terms of all the means that you can, doing good by all the means that you can, I'll focus on just one I thought of with Leslie Ann. Leslie Ann was a very smart woman who had the gift of perception, seeing right through to the root of an issue or a problem or a person. God used that ability to not only support Cobus in his business, but to help others think through their own challenges. There was a woman that both she and I knew who was difficult to be with because, well, she just seemed to have a huge chip on her shoulder. And then I was so surprised one day to learn that Leslie Ann had befriended her. Well, I really shouldn't have been surprised, right? But you notice I'm saying Leslie Ann, not me. I wasn't part of this because I thought this woman was very prickly. Leslie Ann, though, perceived that this woman wasn't happy because she was far away from her family, a situation she could relate to. And so even when her health was fading, I heard her mention one time that she was determined to get together with this person because she felt she needed some love and care. And this is when she was not feeling well herself. And so perception and love, two very powerful means of doing good. Now, by what ways did she do good? Well, they were countless. I'll just mention one, her gift of thoughtfulness, which you've already heard about, in ways large and small. Without fail, she would remember to ask you about something that you might have mentioned months ago that concerned you. She would bring it up and ask, how was that going? How are you doing with it or whatever? I mentioned to her one day, this is just a silly thing, I mentioned one day to her that I had these horrible dry hands which cracked during the summer and bleed and stuff. Well, then a few weeks later, as I was taking her to a doctor's appointment, she comes out of the house and she's got a bottle of lotion that she wants to give me because it's her special lotion for dry hands. I mean, she remembered everything about you and she loved you and she cared for you. And she continued to ask over the years about my sister who had a stroke over 20 years ago. And yet periodically she would ask, how's your sister doing? She never met my sister, but she still wanted to know. She knew her through me. And you all have all your own ways in which she did good to you, or for you. And then there's doing good in all the places you can. Leslie Ann Cobus, as Jenny's mentioned, lived in South Africa, Canada, Los Angeles, and Santa Barbara, and Astrid has mentioned how their travels took them all over because they love to travel. And when she returned from a trip, you would hear about all the new friends she made on the way because she always reached out to other people. And so her good has been felt around the world by those whose lives she touched. And then she did good to all the people she could. You've already heard person after person after person tell you about that. And we've all experienced it from her. She made you feel special because she took such a keen interest in you. She wanted to know all about your life and what was going on. And what is amazing to me, as people have talked, especially Denny, giving the details of her life, I didn't know a lot of those because when we got together, she always wanted to know about you and ask you about you and ask you about, that is a gift, people. That's a gift to have. And so, we all know that she treated everyone with the greatest kindness and respect. And I saw this so many times, from a waitress in the restaurant to the person that she talked to on the way out of church, to the elderly that she was run to. She knew our elderly people in our church by name, and she would do special things for them. To the children who were indulged by her love, as Pastor Colleen has mentioned, to the nurses that cared for her. And as she was getting her blood drawn in the past few months by a new nurse at the clinic, I had taken her there, and I knew she was feeling horrible. This woman, she found out that she was a new nurse, and so while she's getting her blood drawn and she's feeling so weak and so horrible, she finds out this is a new nurse. So she's asking the nurse, "Oh, where are you from?" And she finds out she's from Texas. "Oh, well, what, tell me about Texas." And, she's drawing on, any store of knowledge that she has about Texas. And she's like, "How do you like Santa Barbara?" And she's even telling her things she needs to do in Santa Barbara. I mean, this woman was incredible. Even in the midst of her own pain, she continued to do good to all people. And then I think that also illustrates the last part, doing good for as long as you ever can. Because her doing good was so ingrained in her that she took it with her all the time, even through her tremendous suffering. She got in the car one day on the way to the clinic and began to ask me in a baby voice about how I was doing. And I said, "Let's just be quiet today, because I know you're not feeling well." And she thanked me for allowing her to have a quiet space in her life. But she was willing to be interested in my life because she was that kind of person who cared so deeply for others. Yes, and so she was doing good as long as you ever can. And today you are hearing and thinking about Leslie Ann Malan's life and the ways she ministered to everyone, how she touched our lives and did good to us. But really, hers was so much more than just human love and kindness. When Leslie Ann did good, she was bringing the reality of the love of Jesus into all of our lives. For he was the one who sustained her for 8 years as she and Lois struggled with cancer. And Jesus' love was the basis of her doing good.
I think you will know that it was very difficult to do anything for Leslie. She wanted to do the giving. She wanted to do things for everyone. But some people, I'm going to tell you a story about her life in South Africa that she told me one time. And it was quite funny. The people in the bush or the country there are simple, sort of honest types who just give from the heart. And I think this was while she was a teacher. And she was stationed out in the bush. And she was the people in the congregation wanted to give her things. So she was out all day. And when she came home, she walked up just imagine flies and dust and hot and everything. She walked up the stairs and there was a great big piece of meat hanging from the roof on a hook. She found out later that it was one of the parents of the children in her school that took that, and that was his gift to her.